What does institutional market intelligence actually look like? The kind a McKinsey team would spend 2 weeks producing. TAM-SAM-SOM sizing with methodology, competitive landscape mapped by tier, consumer psychology broken down to the psychographic layer, regulatory outlook, investment climate, a 6-chart dashboard, and a live analyst you can interrogate. Here's the reality of getting proper market intelligence the traditional way. A boutique research firm charges $5,000 to $25,000 and takes 2 to 4 weeks. If you do it yourself, Statista, Euromonitor, cross-referencing segmentation frameworks, writing a coherent sizing rationale, mapping the competitive landscape, you're looking at 20 to 40 hours before you have something worth sharing. For a founder validating a new category, or a consultant responding to a brief on a Friday afternoon, neither of those works. The smart market researcher collapses that entire workflow into 2 inputs and 45 seconds. The interface is deliberately minimal. 2 fields, that's the complete form. Field 1, target industry. I'm typing D2C Skincare. Specific enough to be analytically meaningful, broad enough to capture the full competitive and consumer landscape. Field 2, geographic region. I'm entering India. That single input determines how regional pricing dynamics, regulatory frameworks, channel distribution, and consumer psychology are weighted across the entire output. No dropdowns, no configuration. Hit Initialize Analysis, watch what happens in the loading panel. TurboAgents doesn't just show a spinner, it tells you exactly what it's doing. Aggregating industry data, analyzing market segmentation, modeling revenue projections, assessing competitive landscape, synthesizing regulatory trends, structuring the executive report, 6 stages, 45 seconds, and then the output surfaces. Not as a paragraph, but as a full 3-tab intelligence suite. The default landing is the executive report tab. At the very top, an executive summary that frames the entire market at a strategic level. TurboAgents identifies this as a hypergrowth segment, expanding at a 36.4% CAGR, valued at $2.72 billion in its addressable layer. It immediately flags the central tension. Rising disposable incomes and Gen Z skintellectualism are driving demand. But extreme customer acquisition costs and a crowded landscape of over 800 brands mean capital efficiency is the defining variable between winners and failures. That framing would take a human analyst half a day to construct. It's the first paragraph here. Scroll down and the TAM-SAM-SOM table lands immediately. Total addressable market, $9.27. The full Indian skincare industry. Serviceable addressable market. $72 billion, the digital-first D2C layer, scoped to urban internet-enabled consumers transacting via e-commerce and quick commerce. Serviceable obtainable market, $450 million. The realistic 12 to 24-month capture zone for a premium clinical brand targeting metro and tier 1 millennials. Every number has a rationale, and the next section walks through exactly why the narrowing from SAM to SOM reflects India's socioeconomic stratification, where mass market offline dominates the TAM but the hypergrowth premium D2C segment isolates the real opportunity. The report then opens into 14 analytical sections in a 2-column grid, each roughly 150 words of structured intelligence. A few that stand out. The competitive landscape section maps the market in tiers. Pioneers like Mamaearth who scaled via toxin-free positioning and aggressive omni-channel rollout. A second wave of science-backed disruptors led by Minimalist and the Derma Co., who reset consumer expectations through radical ingredient transparency. Niche leaders like Plum in clean beauty and caffeine in caffeine-based personal care. And early-stage innovators blending Ayurvedic heritage with dermatological science. It tells you exactly where the consolidation horizon is heading. The consumer psychology section doesn't describe demographics, it describes behavior. Modern Indian skincare consumers, led by Gen Z and millennials, exhibit what the report calls knowledge parity. They routinely scrutinize INCI ingredient lists, cross-reference with dermatologist content on Reddit and Instagram, and are fiercely disloyal to marketing but highly loyal to formulations that actually work. It tells you, winning this consumer requires behaving as an educator, not an advertiser. That's an insight you'd pay a strategist a day rate to arrive at. The market barriers section flags that performance marketing already consumes 30 to 40% of revenue for early-stage brands, with CAC recovery time, not GMV. Now the metric that determines whether a brand survives to profitability. And the future forecast section predicts quick commerce accounting for over 30% of D2C skincare volume within 5 years, forcing brands to redesign packaging and inventory for hyperlocal logistics. Switch to the dashboard tab and the same intelligence becomes 6 interactive charts. The market sizing breakdown donut shows the TAM-SAM-SOM proportions visually. At 75%, 22%, and 4% respectively, it makes immediately clear how much of the broader skincare market is genuinely addressable for a D2C brand. The subsegment dominance chart shows facial care commanding an 85% share of the category, body care at 10%, specialized treatments at 5%. That tells a brand manager exactly where to build the core portfolio. The adoption barrier intensity chart is the one I'd put in every investor deck. 3 barriers scored on a normalized scale. High SAC scores 92, the dominant friction in this market by a significant margin. Brand crowding scores 85. Omnichannel logistics scores 70. These are not abstract concerns, they're a prioritization map for where to focus capital. The channel distribution chart shows direct and digital accounting for 65% of sales, omnichannel retail at 25%, and quick commerce already at 10% and climbing fast. And the consumer purchase drivers chart ranks what actually converts a buyer. Clinical ingredients score 90, social proof and reviews 82, pricing and discounts 75. For anyone building a content or performance marketing strategy, that ranking alone is directional. The third tab is the Analyst Chat, and this is where the tool becomes a research partner, not just a report. I asked it, which customer segment has the highest lifetime value in this market, and what's the most effective channel to reach them? TurboAgents identified the mass premium skintellectual, Metro and Tier 1 millennials buying in the $499 to $899 rupee range as the highest CLTV segment, and here's the reasoning it gave. This group has benefited from India's 13.3% rise in per capita disposable income, which has shifted skincare from occasional luxury to non-discretionary daily routine. They're fiercely disloyal to marketing but exhibit high formulation loyalty. Once a clinical product solves a specific concern like barrier repair or acne, they transition into high-margin replenishment cycles for sunscreens and serums. The channel answer was equally sharp. Acquire via Instagram and YouTube educational content, convert through Nykaa and Amazon, and then retain through quick commerce for utility replenishment and WhatsApp-driven personalized lifecycle marketing. The strategic summary: to dominate CLTV, acquire the skintellectual via education, convert them through affordable clinical pricing, and retain them through the frictionless logistics of quick commerce and AI-driven CRM. That's a go-to-market framework delivered in a chat response. When you're done, one click on Export Word downloads a fully formatted document, Market Intelligence Audit D2C Skincare, with a navy header banner, the full executive summary, the TAM-SAM-SOM table, all 14 analytical sections with structured headings, the chart data as inline text table, and a numbered sources index with URLs to coherent market insights, ClickPost, and Forbes India. It's client-ready the moment it lands in your downloads folder. A boutique research report on this market, 5,000 to 25,000, 2 to 4 weeks. Doing it yourself, 20 to 40 hours. The smart market researcher delivers 14 analytical sections, a TAM-SAM-SOM with full rationale, 6 data visualizations, cited sources, and a live analyst in 45 seconds. For founders validating a market before committing capital. For consultants who need category context before Monday morning. For investors stress testing a thesis before a term sheet. The smart market researcher is live now inside TurboAgents. Try it today and walk into every conversation that matters fully prepared.